Sorry that there were some technical problems. We will restart. So, we were discussing about the Ashraya-Ashrayi Bandham. And some general ideas we have already seen, like the fingerprints, the bhautik fingerprints of each dhatu, which is going to be the most crucial part as far as the identity of a bhuta, of a dhatu is concerned. And we have also seen the descriptions regarding the samanyam and vishesham, that egatvagaram and prithaktvagaram, vriddhi hedu, hrasa hedu, all those things we have seen. Now, further to this statement on Ashraya Ashrayi Bandha, there are some very important observations which are practically very important and which are very crucial when we try to understand what is meant by all these ideas. See, further to the description of that Ashraya Ashrayi Bandha, initially especially, like Tatrasthin Sthido Vayuhu Pittam Tusveda Raktayoho, all those things we find then. Tesham Ashraya Ashrayinam Mithaha Yed Egasya Tadanyasya Vardhana Kshapanaushatham. That is what we saw the other day. Then we find one statement. What is that? Prayo vruddhirhi tarpanad. Prayo vruddhirhi tarpanad. Prayaha tarpanad vruddhihi hi. Prayaha, in general, vruddhi happens from, or vruddhi is because of tarpanam. Tarpanad, not tarpanena, not tarpanena. So, vruddhi is a product of tarpanam. Vruddhi is an outcome of tarpanam. What is tarpanam? Then go back to the Dvividhovakramaniyam. In Dvividhovakramaniyam, we find Upakramyasya hi dvitvad dvidhaivopakramo mataha ekah santarpanaha. Ekah santarpanaha tatra dvidiyascha apatarpanaha. So all these things we find at one point. Brahmano langhanaschedi talparyaya udahridau brahmanam yad brihatvaya langhanam laghavaya yad dehasya. The next statement is bhavataha prayo bhaumapam idarachate. So, bhaumapam is a crucial statement here. We find tarpanam is brahmanam, and it is associated in general with the bhaumapam, prabhumi and the jalam. In the context of Dvividhovakramaniyam, we specifically note that tarpanam causes dehasya vruddhihi, dehasya brihatvam, dehasya brihatvam. That is an increase in the bulk of sharira. And as far as individual dhadus are concerned, tarpanam causes increase in their bulk. So, tarpanam is a process facilitated by bhumi and jalam, a combination which represents in the terms of somebody is writing that there is no sound. Can I be heard? Can somebody please respond?
Yes, yes. Well
Yes,
heard.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So, Tarpanam is a process facilitated by Bhumi and Jalam, a combination which represents a Shleshma. That is why we find the next part as Prayo Vruddhirhi Tarpanad Shleshmananugada Tasmad. Shleshmananugada Tasmad. Prayaha Tarpanad Vruddhi Hi Tasmad Prayaha Vruddhi Shleshmana Anugada. Shleshmana Anugada. Shleshmana Anugada. In general, Vruddhi is an outcome of Tarpanam, and hence it is Shleshmana Anugata, accompanied by Shleshma most often. Accompanied by. Vruddhi is accompanied. That is very important statement because we have seen what a dosha is. It is not like a dhadu. So it is accompanied by. So what are the practical implications of this observation? We shall see. See, as we explained or as we discussed earlier, dhadus are the ashraya of all doshas. And doshas are the ashrayas. That is our context. The sustainability of sharira is dependent upon the status of dhadus, not the doshas, to be very honest. And from the food we eat, dhadus are made. Each dhadu acting as the food for the next dhadu. Each dhadu delivering some general functions or karmas and some specific karmas as part of a system, a complex system. Now, Prayo Vruddhirhi Tarpanad Shleshmananugada Tasmad, and this Vruddhi is Bhaumapam. Please listen. It is sometimes we feel that the same thing is repeated multiple times to make it complex and confusing. So please listen. Vruddhirhi Tarpanad Shleshmananugada, and this Vruddhi is Bhaumapam. So we can assume that in general, all dhadus are having a bhaumaba predominance. All dhadus. And hence, a shleshma predominance. A shleshma predominance. And this shleshma predominance or bhaumaba predominance is perfectly in tune with what we have seen in Dravyadi Vijnaniyam, the formation of any Karya Dravya. That means, Panchabhudatmagam tattu kshmam adhisthaya jayate ambuyoni agni pavana nabhasam samavayataha tan nirvrittihi visheshascha vyapadesastu bhuyasa. So, all dhadus are kshmam adhisthaya jayate ambuyonihi. But take the case of Rakta Dhadu. It is an Agneya Dravya. That means it highlights a relative predominance of Agni over other Bhutas, thus assigning a status of Pitta Ashraya to it. Still, the Adhisthana is Prithvi, even though there is a relative predominance of Agni. Similarly, Asthi is a Vayavya Dravya with a relative predominance of Vayu, making it the Ashraya of Vada Dosha. Still, its Adhisthana is Prithvi. So, ultimately, the adhisthana of Sharira is Prithvi, associated by Jala with relative predominance of various bhutas in various dhadus, which gives the vishesha to each one of them. That is what we were discussing about the fingerprint. And this Prithvi Jala base of Sharira is the reason behind Acharya Sushruta's observation that Sneha Saroyam Purushaha Pranascha Sneha Bhuishtaha Sneha Sadhyascha Bhavanti Sneha Saroyam Purushaha. So, when a vriddhi of Prithvi, Jala, Bhuda Gunas happens, I repeat, when a vriddhi of the Prithvi, Jala, Bhuda Gunas happens, it reflects as a Samanya vriddhi of all dhadus in general. And obviously, this is reflected as a non-specific upsurge of the presence of Shleshma. Wherever there is a Prithvi Jala Vriddhi. Non-specific, that is the underlining word. Non-specific upsurge of Shleshma. And one important point which is to be noted here is the Prithvi Jala Bhuda Gunas manifest in each dhadu in a unique manner. In a unique manner. With specific permutation and combination of all the 5 bhutas. And in spite of the Samanya of Prithvi Jala presence, each bhutas will have a unique fingerprint, which we have mentioned many times. But against this unique, individualized pattern of Prithvi, Jala, Bhuda Gunas in dhadus, I mean, the Prithvi, Jala, Bhuda Gunas are unique. Somebody has switched on their mic. Please switch it off. Please respect others in the room. Please mute yourself. So, against the unique, individualized pattern of Prithvi and Bhuda Gunas, Jala Bhuda Gunas in each dhadu, the Shleshma Vriddhi happening is non-specific. I repeat, even though the Prithvi, Jala, of course, associated by the remaining 3, combination of each dhadu is very unique. When in the context of Vriddhi, what is happening in the level of Shleshma is non-specific, highly generalized, and hence very immediate to manifest. It is very immediate to manifest. I think I will explain this with an example. Take the case of an area, a landscape, which is flooded with water. So, the flooding happens immediately. All the subjects, all the objects in that landscape is afflicted by the water, flood water. Everything is damp, everything is wet. But when you consider individual objects, say for example, there was a bunch of the normal, say a foam bed was there, so the sponge inside is soaked with water immediately. Whereas a piece of brick or a brick as a whole was there, which looks like wet from the periphery, but inside it is still dry. Maybe a book made out of normal paper is soaked, but somewhere in between the brick and the sponge. So, considering each object, the amount of dampness, waterlogging is different, but the landscape as such is immediately flooded by water, reflecting a feel that everything is flooded. So in the same way, when a Prithvi Jala important change is happening in the body, there is an immediate increase in the Shleshma. But when you consider each dhatu separately, the amount of that Vriddhi will be unique and need not happen all of a sudden. I hope that idea is very clear. Because against the unique individualized pattern of each dhatu, the change happening in the Shleshma is not unique, it is generalized, utterly non-specific. And so it is very immediate to manifest. So what happens? Any combination of Bhuta Gunas with the predominance of Prithvi and Jala will bring about a Vriddhi of Shleshma very fast. But if a particular dhatu is to receive that Vriddhi, the pattern of Bhuta Gunas should be very specific. If a dhatu is to receive that Vriddhi, it is to be very specific in terms of other Bhuta Gunas. Take an example. Consider the case of a Shleshma Vriddhi happening in the Sharira. Any Vriddhi happening in the Sharira need not cause immediate specific Mamsa Vriddhi. Even though Mamsa is a Ashraya of Shleshma. Definitely that Shleshma Vriddhi will be reflecting on all the dhadus, including Mamsa to some level, which is a generalized one, but it need not be capable of bringing a specific Mamsa Vriddhi. We all know that Shleshma is an Ashrayi on Mamsa. Mamsa is the Ashraya. All these things are true. But that Vriddhi will be a non-specific one or indicative of a potential. That Shleshma Vriddhi reflects the potential or a prelude to a forthcoming event of Mamsa Vriddhi. A prelude to the event of a forthcoming Mamsa Vriddhi. But at this point, it is not a specific one. But consider the examiner is identifying specific Mamsa Vriddhi. So in any situation where Mamsa Vriddhi is specifically identified, definitely there will be Shleshma Vriddhi. So all Shleshma Vriddhis need not immediately reflect as a Mamsa Vriddhi, but when a Mamsa Vriddhi is well established, definitely there will be a Shleshma Vriddhi occurred. So in a Sharira, that means a system which is under evaluation, when Shleshma Vriddhi is identified specifically, there need not be a Mamsa Vriddhi specifically, but when specific Mamsa Vriddhi is identified, a Shleshma Vriddhi is present invariably, definitely, for sure. So this type of manifestation creates a feeling in the mind of the examiner that the primary or first vriddhi happens in the dosha level in the form of a non-specific vriddhi, and then this vriddhi is getting focused to the dhadu or dushya, mamsa in our example, and hence there is a standard program of samprapti explained. What is that? We find that always we maintain a particular sequence of nidana, dosha, dhadu involvement in the narration of any samprapti. Look at the samanya samprapti explained. Dosha dushta rasaihi dhadun dushayandi. Dosha dushta rasaihi dhadun dushayandi. So, rasaihi dushtaha doshaha dhadun dushayandi. Whether these are happening in a very specific sequential manner or not is a different question. But for the sake of convenience, as it is perceived by the examiner, this sequence is maintained. And so, rasaihi dushtaha doshaha dhadun dushayam. Rasa here is a representative of all nimitta karanas, but more specifically, rasa is highlighted, that's all. So here we find the flow of events as nidana, dosha, dhatu. And this becomes a norm of explaining all sampraptis. This is very important. And this is very primary, very elementary understanding. This is to be there in our minds. When we are trying to address a clinical situation, it is not an important point whether all these things are repeatedly considered again and again in each and every case. That's a different question. But we should be clinically conditioned in such a way to understand the situation in this flow. So, on this basis, we assume or propose that the dosha is influenced or doshas are influenced by nidanas, and then the dosha or doshas influence or afflict the dushyas, and a disease is manifested. And a disease is manifested. There are many points to consider at this event. Again, this is a highly generalized statement, an overgeneralized statement. We should understand many influencing factors. First one, nidanas can influence the doshas. Specifically, definitely, we all know that nidanas influence doshas. But there can be some specificity. Nidanas influence the doshas by means of the changes in gunas. And these gunas are basically bhuda gunas. The changes happening in the dosha level will be highly generalized. I'm just summing up that points. And when the nidana is snigdha shita, for example, this is a generalized increase in the snigdha shita gunas of the sharira, causing a vriddhi of shleshma. But the fate of this shleshma vriddhi is dependent upon many factors. The fate of this shleshma vriddhi depends upon many factors. as we mentioned earlier, this Shleshma Vriddhi has the potential to bring Vriddhi to most of the Dhadus. Has the potential, underlining point is that it has the potential to bring Vriddhi to most of the Dhadus, or this Shleshma Vriddhi can be a prelude to many Vyadhis, forthcoming Vyadhis. But everything is dependent, not independent. And that could be the reason for not highlighting this as a foolproof incident while explaining that yadegasya tadanyasya vardhana kshapana aushadham. As we mentioned, aushadham is aharam and viharam included. But here the aushadham means specifically a remedial intervention is highlighted. Yadegasya tadanyasya vardhana kshapana aushadham. It is not specifically highlighted as the yadegasya tadanyasya vardhana kshapana aushadham will invariably develop into a vikara is not highlighted, but aushadham is highlighted. Then second point is that a dosha vriddhi, which we have already seen, a dosha vriddhi need not initiate a samprapti all the time. It can happen as a normal life event. When we read Vayoho Ratri Bhuktanam Tenda Madhyadigaha Kramad, it shall be understood as a normal life event. These are not parts of any specific samprapti or disease process. So, all the Shleshma Vriddhi happening or all the Pitta Vriddhi happening need not be a part of a samprapti. It can be a part of normal life events as well. Now, regarding the samprapti, the most crucial one that is going to happen as a part of the sequence is Sthana Samshraya. So we have to discuss on Sthana Samshraya. Very specifically, we should try to understand what do you mean by the process of Sthana Samshraya. That we will discuss in our next session. Unfortunately, we lost some 3-4 minutes in between due to some technical issues. Sorry for that. If there are some points to be highlighted in the discussion, I will find the chat box. Just 1 minute. Considering this Shleshma surge, can we say Shleshma Dushti can occur very easily than other doshas? Need not be. I just took the example of Shleshma because of its preponderance. Sorry, not preponderance, predominance in the Sharira in general. Definitely, this can be explained with the Pitta dosha, Vada dosha as well. Because there are some specificity in which they are getting afflicted. Yeah, the rest of the points are all about the disturbance cost. Yeah, it is very important. I think when we are in an online room, there should be some discipline, some sort of a good behavior that we have to follow. The first thing that we are supposed to do is to mute ourselves. So please follow that in a community. So I think we will stop today's session. We will come up with more specific and finer aspects of the samprapti. See, when we are explaining all these things, we are not repeatedly saying that this is samprapti, this is samprapti, this is samprapti, but this is how we are supposed to approach the situation. So they are very, very fundamentals. Fundamentals that can be understood when you have covered first year, second year, third year, and started treating some attending some clinical situations as well. So I think there is one more chat. Just 1 minute. Can you please tell why we are using Kashaya for Vada dosha? Even Kadu Pikta Kashaya increase Vada. I think we are yet to reach that point. I think just by listening the forthcoming session, this doubt will be cleared. So I'm winding up. Thank you very much. Bhishajam sadhu bhuttanam bhadram agamachalinam. Swabhyasta karmanam bhadram bhadram bhadra abhilashinam. Thank you very much.